Merry Christmas! In my last but not less interesting video, I'll share my antique feather Christmas trees with you. They are not easy to find and are quite expensive when you do locate them. The first one I want to share with you is actually right over here on this side of the room. And this is actually my second largest feather tree that I have in my collection. They're made of actually real goose feathers that were dyed green and then individually wrapped around the wire branches that were then placed inside the wooden trunks there. And this, of course, was in response to the deforestation back at the turn of the century. So I'll do a quick little scan of the tree so you can see some of the ornaments as well. And these were always placed on ordinary wooden stands that sometimes would be painted green or red, which I cover up because they're kind of homely. You can kind of see that so the tree was weighted down. And this is tinsel as well. You could buy for the feather trees. So I'll show you some of my ornaments there. This is a fun scrap right in there. That was actually from a carriage company, an advertising piece, and with holes at the top so it could be hung from a Christmas tree. Now you might notice that the tree looks kind of sparse, and sometimes people refer to them as Charlie Brown trees because they are kind of actually homely when they're not decorated. But this is because this is at a time before electricity, so the spacing of the branches was actually placement for placement of candles and then to light the candles. I don't have any candles on the next couple trees, but I showed that in another video, the little clips and the candles. So that's why the branches are so far apart. Okay, then on this side of the room, on the table here, is actually my smallest Christmas tree. And this tree only stands about 16 inches tall, so it's quite little. And to find ornaments, of course, for that little tree is somewhat difficult as well. Then my next tree is this reproduction feather Christmas tree, which I've placed in this antique musical rotating stand, which I'll turn on, so I'll demonstrate how it works here. Where's my lever? There we go. I'll take the handle out first. That's a little crank that's used to wind it up, and I've already got it wound here for you guys. So that's how that works. And I'm really careful about the ornaments that I put on this tree. Some are newer. Sometimes I just put the little light guards on the tree, the reflectors, just because the tree's turning and I'm not always sure if it's gonna, like just now it just stopped. So sometimes it's kind of jerky and I don't want to risk breaking any old ornaments. So I put a kind of a mixture on that tree. Now underneath the tree, at the time you could also buy different elements to create your own putz scene, what was called a putz scene. And I often wonder if that's where the term putz comes from now, because if you're just doing things, little tasks around the house, people say you're putzing. But you could buy the fencing like you see here. This one even has a gate that opens and closes, which is fun. And then a lot of times the scenes would be quite elaborate. I've seen in photos of the period. But I just have a few of the sheep that you could buy. This is my favorite. He's actually a ram. I've seen where they sold the actual box sets of the sheep, and there was always one ram in the group. Some others over there. He's pretty good size there. And this is probably my biggest one down here. So those are my sheep. You could also buy the actual ornaments for the tree. As you notice, they're not very big, so the ornaments had to be quite small as well. And this is an original box of little lantern-shaped ornaments. Hard to find the complete sets in the box, so that's quite a find. And then these are my earliest ornaments for a feather tree. I'll try to get this open with one hand. It's not going to quite open. I'll open that later and I'll show you guys. But these are the little fruits that are early ornaments. And they have little wires inside that would hook onto the tree. But because originally, when you decorated your Christmas tree, they were with natural things you'd find, like fruits, gilded walnuts, that sort of thing. The first Christmas ornaments, of course, were, you know, to resemble natural elements such as that. And then down here I have a catalog from about 1910, 1900 I guess, somewhere in there. It actually shows that you could order these feather trees, and I sure wish I could go back and order a dozen of them for $1.60. I think that's kind of fun to see how they looked in the original catalogs. Okay, next I'll take you upstairs and I'll show you some of our two other antique feather trees. So we'll come this way. There's Lisa and Elon hanging out at Christmas. And of course, besides Christmas, we collect about everything antique. So there's all sorts of things in here. This is my largest feather tree. Once again, I have a little wooden, excuse me, stand or fence underneath it with the metal reindeer. It's a little scene there. I actually leave this tree up year-round because they are quite fragile. And every time you decorate and undecorate, you're always losing some feathers. So one year I thought, well, no one's ever up here, so I'll keep this tree up all year long. I'll do a little scan of the ornaments so you can see those. Some of these I featured in my first video of the ornaments. As you can see, there's a little bit of everything on there. There's a peacock. This early Santa's really nice. He's blown glass, of course, hand painted. That's a really nice scrap ornament. And there's a mushroom I showed before. That's a really nice bird. It's probably turned the century or so. Okay, one thing I think I didn't mention earlier, but I want to point out, when these trees were made, this was during what was called the cottage industry, where these trees were actually created in people's homes. For instance, in Germany, sometimes the whole family would participate in something like this. Okay, and then in the other room here we have my last feather tree that I'll share with you. This is probably one of my most scarce because it's white, unlike the green tree. So I don't know if they were trying to resemble snow. That's my guess anyway. That they were trying to make it look snowy. So I'll show the various ornaments on here, and I have a lot of paper scraps on here, especially with the tinsel. I like those quite a bit. And then one common feature too on the feather trees you'll notice, especially on this tree, you notice it right away because of the contrast in color, but these little red berries are a permanent decoration on the trees. So you'll find those on antique feather trees. And we'll get this side so you can see some of these over here. This is just a scrap. This isn't actually an ornament, but it's a scrap of a horseshoe and robin's eggs for good luck. A lot of the early Christmas motifs weren't like what we see nowadays, where you see poinsettias and snowy scenes. Usually the earliest Christmas postcards and die cuts were actually quite spring looking. You see birds and flowers and that sort of thing. So I don't think we typically buy postcards nowadays, or Christmas cards if they had spring scenes, but that's more what they were leaning towards, because of course it's the beginning of a new year and rebirth. So I hope you've enjoyed my antique Christmas videos. And like I said, keep in mind, we'll probably do some more down the road of some other topics, because these are kind of fun to share with others. Our antique shop, Silhouette Antiques, of course, is open this Saturday the 30th for the last time. It's been a fun month. We've had a lot of new faces, which was really exciting from the area. But it'll be the last time that we'll be open until April. So if you do by chance, though, if you're in the area, give us a call or shoot me a message, and we'll try to be open for you as well. So have a Merry Christmas and the best of everything for 2024. Thanks.